Amelia for CNN10. Glad to have you watching today. Today we're covering a class almost 500,000 high school students take every year. AP United States History, more informally known as APUSH, quote, focuses on the development of students' abilities to think conceptually about U.S. history from approximately 1491 to the present, unquote. In people words, this means we learn about the history of the United States exceptionally in depth and at a very quick pace. And you learn everything from the multiple genocides committed against the Native Americans from colonial times to the Mila Massacre from the Vietnam War and many other government corruptions and wrongdoings. APUSH is available at Annapolis High for freshmen through seniors. Welcome to the class.
I really liked APUSH. It's a good experience. You just have to know that you are taking a college level class.
APUSH was really fun.
Overall, APUSH was a very hard class, but I got through it with all of my reading notes and studying.
Taking a college level class as a freshman takes you outside your comfort zone, and it is very difficult.
It's been hard, but I think it's going to really help me for the future of my high school career and help me be a better test taker, note taker, and just better overall.
APUSH is very hard in certain ways and easy in other ways. The reading notes are hard, and you got to manage sports or after-school activities with APUSH, and it's hard.
I thought it was a pretty easy class. I mean, it wasn't too hard as long as you keep up with your work.
APUSH is really frustrating because sometimes you feel like you'll do more work than the person next to you, yet they'll get a way better grade than you, and you're just failing. But somehow at the end of it, you end up passing.
APUSH is a challenging class if you let it be. If you're on time with all your stuff, and if you don't fall behind, and if you listen to the teachers when they're telling important instructions, it won't be hard at all.
It wasn't that hard as what you'd expect, but you just as long as you manage your time. If you fall behind, it's very hard to get back on track. So, just don't mess around in class, and you should be fine. Otherwise, it's pretty fun.
In this class, it's been a struggle, but as I have taken the class, more, it's been a lot easier to take the notes at night and stay on top of the work, which is something that is really important, or else you will fail.
Taking the class over time has really helped me, and now I can write a somewhat accurate DBQ. Note-taking has really helped me. I've developed a lot of writing skills, and I can apply that to my other classes, so that was really helpful.
A typical day in APUSH includes a 10-minute, 10-question reading quiz that you take at the beginning of every class. Each night, you have to take notes on the reading you were assigned, which can range from 4 to 50 pages. You are allowed to use these notes on the quiz. This is one of the reasons it is important to do your reading notes. The average reading is about 15 pages, but do not worry, because the green pages make your homework way easier. APUSH is a struggle at first because you don't know how to take notes right away. This is okay because over time you get used to it and you develop your own note-taking strategies. In the beginning, you might get horrible quiz scores. These also get better, but it is normal if the scores fluctuate. You may be better at some time periods than others, so stay optimistic. These are some students who have completed the class and AP test and are sharing what they wish they had known on their first day of APUSH.
To not procrastinate and not to overthink everything. You just have to go with the flow.
I wish I knew how important the readings really are because I didn't do like 12 of them and got bad grades on my test. I really wish I knew how important the readings were in terms of the class and learning stuff because we don't always cover everything in class, so you have to do the readings to fully understand what you're learning about.
One thing that I would recommend for APUSH is studying a lot for all of your period tests.
First day of APUSH, I wish I knew how to take proper reading notes to help me do better on my everyday quizzes we have in class.
Overview packets, got to get those in on time, turn things in on time.
I wish I knew how hard the homework was going to be because the homework has made me almost cry like 10 times.
I wish I knew how hard the workload would be, and I wish I knew how to take notes properly, not waste time taking notes on a bunch of information that won't be needed.
What I wish I knew on day one is probably all the time management skills that I knew now. Either that or what was on the May 5th exam, which sucked. You'll have to go through it. Look forward to that.
On the first day of APUSH, I wish I knew more about DBQs.
The first day of APUSH, I wish I knew that The test isn't as big of a deal as they make it seem. Like, they make it seem like it's gonna take over your whole life and it's gonna affect if you get into college or not, but it's actually not the end of the world. Like, it's not.
After the reading quiz and everyone sharing their scores, you go right into the lesson, which usually includes a PowerPoint, taking notes, and filling in lots of charts. The teachers are very interactive in their ways of teaching, and we can always add our input into what we want to do, even though they never listen to us. We mostly go over what we read over in the notes, just more in depth and with teacher guidance. We have a lot of fun in content classes, and we learn a lot at the same time. This is what a content class includes, but you are also suggested to take seminar. In seminar, you expand your knowledge on writing, like how to write long essays and DBQs, how to use Hippo to analyze documents, and just overall gain a better grasp on information learned in content. We practice these skills every class when we're not getting off task or discussing conspiracies. Seminar is on B days, while content is on A days. Seminar has less of a workload and no homework besides the occasional projects. Also, your seminar teacher may be different from your content teacher. APUSH is challenging because of how rigorous the workload is. Each night you have to take notes, which takes up a chunk of your afternoons. Also, if you do any extracurriculars, it's hard to keep that balance between sanity and school. APUSH is over all of American history, which spans from 1491 to the present. The amount of information you learn in a relatively short amount of time is extremely dense and requires you to pick up knowledge very quickly. At the conclusion of each period, you have to complete an overview packet, a period folder, and the period test. The overview packet outlines the main points, policies, groups, organizations, and presidents of the time period. The folders are similar to the overview packets and probably are just added on in order to make you stress even more right before the test. Like, why did you add that on our year? Are you kidding me? Anyways, the period test includes 50 multiple choice questions, 2 short answers sometimes, and a long essay. All of this is timed in order to get you used to working under the time limits the AP test sets. Especially coming out of 8th grade history, AP US history is like a smack in the face. The tests and preparations for it are way more intense. At the end of the year, you have to do this big test called the AP test. It's about 3 to 4 hours long, and there are 55 multiple choice questions, 4 short answers, a choice between 2 long essays, and 1 mandatory DBQ. The teachers are great at helping you prepare for the test, so don't freak too much. They drill everything you need to know into your brains. Also, instead of just learning up to the Civil War or so in middle school, you learn everything about the United States. For example, we learn about the presidency of James Buchanan. Remember that president? Me neither. Like, honestly. The teachers in APUSH make it better than it would be otherwise. You can get 3 teachers, Mr. Murphy, Mr. Kestler, or Mrs.Pantazis. They try their best to teach you all the knowledge they know in the most engaging way they can. These are some of the best teachers you can have because they really care how you perform and learn. Here are the teachers telling about how they deal with an APUSH class. What is it like teaching APUSH?
So teaching APUSH is very different from anything else I've ever done. This is my first year teaching APUSH. One of the things I like about it is how inquisitive all of my students are and all the questions that they ask and how really into it they get. And that's not something I'm used to at the consistent level with some of my other history classes.
It is super fun. I like crushing students' hopes and dreams at the beginning of the year.
APUSH is extremely fun. I don't know if it's that fun for the kids, but I have a great time doing it.
How is APUSH different from teaching regular history?
We move a lot faster. The students cry more. We do a lot more content.
So with APUSH, we cover a lot more. That's probably the biggest difference.
What are some of my favorite experiences, aspects of being an APUSH teacher? I'm going to be honest, I'll stray away from the content here. My favorite experiences are when the kids are able to get me off topic.
My favorite experiences and favorite parts of APUSH are probably the students. I love seeing the parts of history that make you guys excited.
I really like our debates in class. I like building relationships with students. Least favorite, whiny 9th graders. I break them out of it.
I get very sad watching how much you guys stress out about things.
How do you deal with teaching the boring parts of history?
That's a hard one because I like a lot of history, drink a lot of caffeine, and try and smile a lot, and that makes me seem happier. So
There are no boring parts of history. Everything in history is awesome.
Quickly, or try to spice it up and make it kind of interesting as best I can. Sometimes I just say, this is boring.
What is your favorite instance in history?
The Brooks-Sumner affair. It's right before the Civil War breaks out, so it's the whole debate over slavery. Preston Brooks overhears Charles Sumner has insulted him. They're both in the Senate, and Brooks basically beats Charles Sumner very, very badly with a cane on the Senate floor. It's a big deal. It's really exciting.
1982, the release of Africa by Toto, the greatest song in history. You can quote me on that.
Obviously, Teddy Roosevelt, best president of the United States.
Through taking APUSH, I learned that I know more than I think I do. I remember what Bacon's Rebellion, Specie Circular, and the Roosevelt Corollary are. Sounds confusing? You'll learn soon enough. This class gives you a lot of experience with managing stress, workload, and extracurriculars, and how and what to study. All of these skills help you adapt to the high school life, and you are more prepared than other students because of the pace and density of the AP class. Thank you for watching today. Let's hope your year in APUSH will be more successful than the relations between Europeans and Native Americans, the Roanoke settlement, the Articles of Confederation, the end of salutary neglect, the American Revolution for the British, the efficiency of Washington's farewell address, the Federalist Party, Andrew Johnson's presidency, all of slavery, the American system, the Bank of the United States during Jackson's presidency, the Dred Scott decision for African Americans, the federal prohibition on alcohol, Chinese who wanted to immigrate to America in the early 20th century, the Civil Rights Movement before the 70s, Teddy Roosevelt's run for presidency after the Safari, the American economy in the late 20s, the Bay of Pigs invasion, all of them and more, Nixon managing a government mess-up, Phyllis Schlafly advocating for women's rights, using lasers to shoot down Russian nukes, George H.W. Bush at not increasing taxes, Bill Clinton at staying loyal to his wife and family, and finally, Trump's appointments to federal agencies. Have a great year from the APUSH veterans of 2017.